billion names of pod.
From Atlanta,
where our mayor is trying to keep our governor from killing us.
it's the 9 billion names of pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Frat Man.
So let's talk about some stuff.
If you insist.
Man, bunch of stuff happened this weekend, and I've seen a bunch of different things. So what did you said you had something you wanted to dive right into.
I am now a full-fledged member of QAnon.
Oh.
No, QAnon. Nom.
Okay.
We like quiches, and that's about it.
Okay.
And that's the dad joke for the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be no more, if I can help it. What I want to talk about is that trailer that dropped.
Which one? Because are you talking about DC?
I'm talking about the Batman, or after I watched it, the Frat Man. Because I got to tell you, he does not look old enough. He looks way too young to be, unless they have the story at the very early years of Batman. He needs about another 5 to 10 years on him before he makes a convincing Batman based on that trailer.
From what I understand, yes, that is more of what they're doing. It's more of a year one reboot to like get some longevity out of Pattinson being Batman.
Really? No more one and dones? No more two and dones?
Hopefully not. They're trying to hold it together but it's like we have the greatest comic book character of all time and we can't make it work in a movie.
We made it work for 2.5 movies, and that was great, but then it's over. We need to do more of it.
Yeah, I mean, and I still contend the villains were always better in those movies anyway. Batman has been there've been good ones and okay ones and terrible ones, and
Batman Begins and The Dark Knight are pretty fucking solid.
Yeah.
Batman Rises?
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
Dark Knight Rises. It was enjoyable enough. Not, after you make your masterpiece with, The Dark Knight, it's kind of hard to Godfather to that thing, and make another one that is just as good, if not better. And they didn't.
Yes, indeed. I'm not loving the suit and the deep cutout on the cowl on the face mask.
Yeah.
But it's got a very retro homemade kind of feel to it with the car as well.
I think they might be taking a small tip from the Joker aesthetic, that was so successful with Joaquin Phoenix. And also apparently there's a cult of Joker in this.
Yes, I'm trying to figure that out. Like,
I'm wondering if that's going to be like Joker is already gone and we are following him, or Joker's around, we're the cult, but you don't see the Joker and they tease it till the next film.
That's more likely because there has, they've announced a lot of who's in the movie, but there's, Zoe Saldana, Zoe
No, she's in it because she's in every film ever.
Right. But Zoe Kravitz is playing Catwoman, obviously. So Paul Dano is playing the Riddler, which I think is the big bad, as you can tell by the logo.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, it's a nice take.
You saw him in There Will Be Blood, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, that's a good Riddler.
Colin Farrell, who's in the trailer, who doesn't look anything like Colin Farrell, is supposedly Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin.
Really?
Yes, I think that's who that is. Watch it again, and you'll see somebody in it, and it's like, I think that's who that's supposed to be.
Maybe they're going another way with the Penguin too. All right.
Maybe. but no announcement as to if the Joker's in it and if and who would be playing it. And if they could keep that under wraps, that would be miraculous. But we'll see.
Well, as long as there's a fish movie, be happy.
Yes, that was talk about one and done. Hopefully we don't ever see that again.
I know that was way too many seasons and done.
Yes.
I mean, she's the reason I stopped watching that show. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
It was just so fucking horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, she dragged down the whole series for me.
Right. Well, the thing about what happened this weekend was it wasn't just, we're going to drop the Batman trailer. They had a 24-hour online DC thing called Fandome, which had announcement after announcement after announcement after announcement. And they really, because they didn't participate in San Diego's virtual Comic-Con. They were like, nope, we're going to do our own thing. And they had a bunch of panels and they announced a ton of stuff. So they did the Batman trailer which I didn't expect to see a teaser. I didn't even think that much footage had been shot.
Gee, do you think that they finally just said, everyone stop for a minute. Let's get a plan together and think this shit through, because we only have so many do-overs before the fans just go, I love your characters, but you can't do shit with them.
Well, here's what they've done. I think they finally realized, and I've been saying this, been saying this for a long time. Marvel had the big plan. They had the big arc and the big plan and the big, we're going to go from this to this, and they did it all right. And DC was such a mess. But God love him, Greg Berlanti had set up their multiverse in the TV shows. And they were like, that's our out. We can, that explains why we have 4 or 5 different Batmans. And that's why we have the movies don't all interconnect. And that's how, we can, and they canonized it in the big crossover for the TV shows.
For the Infinite Earth?
Yeah, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And this secret, I don't know how the fuck they kept, but in night 4, I think, Barry Allen, the Flash, runs into a room and he's like, who are you? And it cuts to Ezra Miller's Flash from the Justice League movie. He's like, I'm Barry Allen. Who are you? He's like, I'm Barry Allen. So they canonized that version of the multiverse. They didn't really explain what happened, but
now impress me when Batman goes into a room and goes, who the hell are you? And George Clooney says, I'm Batman. Or Michael Keaton says, I'm Batman.
There are rumors. There are rumors of Michael Keaton.
Yes, I know.
In said Flash movie.
Maybe not Val Kilmer.
No.
I'm gonna go no on that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do a big crazy thing with the Flash movie and bleed it over into a bunch of stuff. Because there's talks of Michael Keaton, there's talks of Affleck being in it too, and he's out. He's not in it anymore.
I think his alcohol problems got in the way. I think.
No, I think he got tired of being beaten up in the press as the movie's being bad.
Well, the movies weren't bad because of him. I mean, he was perfectly competent. I mean, I didn't really love him. I certainly didn't hate him. It was just what it was. And the thing that always blew me away is that why did they put a guy in the suit with the cowl with the open chin, and it's the most recognizable chin ever?
Well, honestly, it's the best chin they could have gotten. That's who he's supposed to have, that big old lantern jaw.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it's the same thing with the glasses on, glasses off for Superman. It's just like, really? Do these people have no curiosity at all? Oh, wow, your chin is so recognizable, just like Bruce. Wait a minute.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I did a show that you remember I was in a production of Young Frankenstein. And in said
Bring
production,
on your rich.
yep, and in said production of Young Frankenstein, my entire head was painted green, which meant that I had to shave off my beard and to paint my head every day.
And you scared Courtney.
Well, I did, but I also went over to Dad's garage, and after one of my performances, because they were having it was one of their closing parties for 280 for their old building, and I walked right up to my buddy Kevin, the artistic director at the time, and was like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he was like, "Hi," and it like didn't register at all that it was me. So I was like, "It's Dan," and he went, "Oh my God, I didn't recognize you at all." So I was like, "Well, maybe the Clark Kent glasses thing is actually kind of a thing."
Yes, but no one is going around going, I wonder who Dan is. Who's Dan?
That's
Dan.
true.
I have to look, like
That's
who's
true.
the hero we call Dan? Well, he's Dan Bauman. He's right over there. Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Well, that goes back to Spider-Man 2, which is also one of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. That he gets after the subway, after he stops the subway train, like his mask gets pulled off, and they're like, "Oh, he's just some kid. Who is he?" It's not like, "Oh my God, it's Peter Parker." It's like, "Oh, who's that guy?" He's just a kid.
Right. And of course, a lot of the hidden identity stuff would have been screwed up in the age of cell phone cameras. Back in the day, if your mask got pulled off for a hot second, you can put it back on, you're fine. But these days, as soon as the mask comes off, 40,000 people got their cameras out taking a picture of your unmasked face. So anyway,
well, speaking of another trailer they dropped, I don't know if you saw it, but they dropped the trailer for the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Wow, that finally is happening, huh?
And I mean, all the footage they showed, I was like, wow, this is a completely different movie. Like and it looked good. I mean, it looked real good. There was some of the shots from the old version, but I mean, supposedly it's like 4 hours long, and they're going to do it as like a mini series or something.
Well, I'm down for giving it another shot.
Yeah.
It wasn't completely irredeemable, but once again, my big complaint was, when the Avengers happened, we knew who all the other people were for the most part, and in this case, we knew about half of them, and the other, like, okay, cyborg guy, whatever you are, I don't know what your story is except for the 5 minutes they give you in the film.
Yeah, and that guy, and Ray Fisher, the guy who played him, was really good. And from this trailer, I can see they put back a ton of his origin story. Like they will actually give him some, like, he's not getting his own movie, but I mean, he has a big chunk of character development at least.
Well, good. Well, that's what is it with Snyder's movies that suddenly come back and get expanded? They did the same thing with Watchmen.
Well, I think he just shoots a lot. I think he just shoots a lot of footage, and they're like, "No, you can't put a 4-hour movie out." And this one, it was just, there was such the groundswell for the Snyder cut. I was like, it's not going to be any better, and I'm like, oh, it looks pretty good. So
not too shabby.
So hunt it
down. Considering what's happening now, I don't know if theater going is going to return in any way that we previously knew it.
Well, interestingly enough, one little tidbit of what we were just talking about, except for the Snyder cut, because they dropped the Batman trailer, they dropped the new Wonder Woman 84 trailer, and something else. And in those two trailers, at the end,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of the same footage, but you get a little bit of Kristen Wiig's Cheetah, and it's funny, and there's a lot of good Wonder Woman stuff. But the thing that's very interesting is at the end, at the title cards, it says coming soon, or coming 2021 only to theaters. So they made a point of, we're not going to put this online or put this on HBO. These are going to movie theaters eventually. So
you mean that they're not going to Mulan us?
Right. The Snyder cut is going to HBO Max, which honestly I think most of the DC stuff is going to fold into that anyway. I think they're going to shut down their DC app and then put everything on HBO Max.
All right, makes sense. Why carry a whole platform when you can, license it out and cut your costs, but maybe even raise your profits.
Yeah, and I guess Warner's owns HBO, or HBO owns Warner's, or they're just under the same umbrella or something. Because there's a lot of stuff up there already. There's a lot of their content is already up there. There's a whole DC button on HBO Max with all their, animated stuff and like a bunch of Christopher Reeve stuff, and I think all the Keaton movies too.
Yeah, all right.
Yep.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing movies in a theater again. Rarely that I, do that, but I don't know how many places are going to be able to hold on for, a year. By the time things might start getting better, maybe it'll be a year.
Well, I mean, AMC is open.
Rent to play.
Yeah, well, AMC is opening up some theaters, from what I understand.
Yep. Well, on my birthday, they had a thing where movies were 15 cents or something to get people back in for that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it for a second, and then I went, first of all, it's my birthday. No. But then even if it wasn't my birthday, I'd be like, there is nothing I want to see so badly that I'm willing to go into a theater.
No.
So I'm still keeping my my exposure as limited as possible, if for no other reason because we live in a state run by a fucking idiot that suckles at the Trump teat, and I think we're what, in the top 4, maybe 3 of cases. And so no, I'm not going to do anything going outside unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And I will wear a mask while doing it.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you saw the post. I have 2 new masks.
No.
One is the carpet design of the Overlook Hotel.
Nice. Very nice.
And you can see I also bought a case for my phone with the same design on it. Thank you, T Public. But the other one is Rick from the Young Ones going.
I did see
like
that one. Yeah, given the what do they call that? I mean, it's not a peace sign; it's the opposite.
It's basically the British "fuck you." I mean, this is American. This is England. This is peace. You flip it around, and it's "fuck you."
Yes.
So things that the young ones taught me when I was but a lad.
Right.
Back in the 19. Yeah. Well, I just turned 30. I mean, give me a break. So you said you saw some other trailers. What's going on there?
Well, they did a not so much of a trailer, but some footage and some behind the scenes stuff of the new Suicide Squad movie, just entitled The Suicide Squad, directed by
So we had Batman, now we have Batman.
They had what?
And then we have Suicide Squad, and now we have The Suicide Squad.
Yes, and it's directed by James Gunn. And
this is the one.
This is the one. And if you thought a movie with a tree and a raccoon was stupid, wait until you see the deep bench of low rent characters he pulled up, and it looks ridiculous. I was sitting there going, I don't know half of these characters.
Well, that's his genius. It's like, all right, I'm going to dig into the DC universe, find the fucking dregs of whatever, and I'm going to make them goddamn stars.
And it looks amazing. And I mean, they're calling it a soft reboot because it's still Margot Robbie, it's still Joel McKinnon as Flag, it's still Viola Davis as Waller. But it's a whole crap ton of new characters, including Idris Elba, John Cena, Peter Capaldi's in it.
Really?
Yeah. And playing these low rent DC and the tagline is like, don't get attached to anybody because they're gonna blow some heads up. You know, Nathan Fillion's in it, Michael Rooker's in it as usual, Sean Gunn is in it in a big
nice.
CG role, and there's like 20 of them. It's crazy. It's crazy. David Demelchian is in it. Nuts.
Well, I'm definitely on board. You know, I wasn't really overwhelmed by the first Suicide Squad film, but all you had to do was say James Gunn. I'm like, that's fine. I'm glad Disney fired him for a while.
Yeah,
because that's how we got this.
yeah, and that was that again, to his credit, Disney fired him for that bullshit. And DC was like, "You want to make a movie?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll make Suicide Squad." And then Disney was like, "Okay, we've put you in, in internet jail for long enough. So you're back on Guardians 3." And he was like, "Great, I'll do that after I finish Suicide Squad." He didn't bail on Suicide Squad, and he's doing it, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty ridiculous.
Good. I'm glad he did it that way because he was like, I will be reasonable, but we were on a break.
Yes.
We're on a break.
Exactly.
So I'm going to finish my break, and then I'll come back to your bullshit. Maybe you'll think twice about firing me next time.
Yep, for
Especially
nonsense.
if you have, some like $175 million invested in Mulan, and you have no way to get it out there that's going to make the big money. I mean,
yeah,
charging people $30 to get it on Disney Plus. I mean, some people are pretty pissed off about that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'll wait until it, comes on the thing or is more reasonable price. Although I am seriously considering dropping whatever they're going to charge, the $20 or whatever, for Bill and Ted Face the Music to help support that. I think I'd much rather support that.
Oh, yeah, that is a definite. I mean, I have a history with Bill and Ted. It was a big bonding moment for me and my best friend out in California. I mean, there was like a month and a half where every Saturday I'd go over to his house, pick him up, and we'd go to the theater and just watch Bill and Ted. We did, I don't know, 5-6 times. I have a ton of ticket stubs from watching Bill and Ted. Wasn't as thrilled with the second one.
Enjoyable, but yeah.
But the fact that this thing even got made, it amazes me. I cannot believe that it got made. So I definitely want to support it, no doubt about that.
And they hit me in the feels because they released a clip of a scene, and it's Bill and Ted in the driveway, and a new phone booth, futuristic phone booth shows up, and it's Kristen Schaal. And because as we know, George Carlin played Rufus, and he's gone.
Right.
So Kristen Schaal is playing Rufus's daughter. Okay.
Nice.
And they named her Kelly, and Kelly is George Carlin's daughter's name.
Oh,
I mean, how great!
Excuse me, my feels are they're feeling. Oh, right? I love that. I love that.
Just a little nothing detail like that I was perfect. So I'll give them $20.
This movie is. Yeah. Well, you mean that's the cost of full price of 1 1/4 tickets to go see it in the theater. You figure it's about what, $15 to see a movie, so it's $5 more, and you've got it. You've got it in your own home. So
and again, I want to support that little kind of indie spirit of that movie should never have been made. There's no it's one of those things that's like it's a miracle they got it together after all this time.
Right.
Even like that stupid Glass movie that I saw that was the sequel to Split, which was the sequel to Unbreakable. Right. I was like, I'm glad they made this. It wasn't great, but I'm glad he actually finished his story.
Yeah, get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing that impresses me is that Keanu Reeves hasn't done one of his dude type characters in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was even that kind of guy in Dangerous Liaisons. I mean, he was so wooden and
Ugh.
terrible an actor in that film. He just could not act. And he was great in Parenthood, and he was great in Bill and Ted as that kind of like, hey, dude, kind of character. But I mean, he hasn't been doing that in a while. He's got the Matrix and now Matrix again, plus
Yeah.
the John Wick films under his belt. You know, him going back to that is like, I don't know, going back and redoing your high school play.
Well, I've seen plenty of interviews with Alex Winter, and people are like, "Oh, would you ever consider doing another Bill and Ted?" He goes, and he was like, "Well, he's like, well, A, I do a lot of documentaries. I haven't disappeared. I work all the time, and B, Keanu keeps bugging me to do another one. Like we want to do it together, and it's not like he's Keanu's walked away from it and he's too good for it now. He's like he's the one who was pushing to get it made."
Well, and the thing is that having, the two stars on board cracks the door open, but there's so many other things, mostly a script, and then using the two stars on board in the script to get backing. It's the money.
Yeah. Well,
Someone
they got the same producer, Ed Solomon, back on board.
Yeah.
They got the same writer, I think, on board. So
and guess who else is making a return?
William Sadler as Death.
That's right. He's back as Death.
Yep.
And I'm like, that was him? I had no idea.
Yep.
I mean, he was genius in Shawshank Redemption and a whole bunch, like Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
All these films are like, I mean, he's like one of those character actors where you don't quite know you've seen him around, but he's always good. He's always good.
I knew him from that, from Bill and Ted,
From Bill and Ted. See, I think I watched the second one maybe twice, and it's been years. I will go back and watch it again before watching the third one.
It's
I just
enjoyable.
remember feeling like the magic just wasn't there for me.
Right.
In the second one. And you know what? The magic may not be there for me in the third one, but that's fine. I want to support it just because it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I hope it's good, and I'm sure they're going to try their darndest. And if it doesn't, if it doesn't make my Blu-ray list, that's the thing. There are some films that I'm watching, and right in the middle, I'm going, all right, I'm already planning to buy the Blu-ray, and I'm looking forward to the extras. And there are other films where like, I'm glad I saw it, and now it's over, and I will never see it again.
Yep.
Which is what I thought about Suicide Squad, but apparently, Justice League, excuse me. But apparently I'm going to go back to that again and see how it's been recut.
Yeah, well, that's just on HBO. So if you have that, you just
watch it. It hasn't been released yet, has it?
No, next year sometime.
It's next year. Yeah, that's right. Because they were teasing that for quite a while in the future.
Well, I think they were putting it as a kind of a dangling a carrot so people would buy HBO Max. Not that that's a hard sell, but I mean, they're like, next year, the Snyder Cut. And we're like, what? That's real?
Yes. Subscribe to HBO Max for a year and then get the thing you're looking forward to. Or, I don't know, maybe wait until it's out and then subscribe to HBO Max.
Like everybody did with Game of Thrones.
Exactly. It's finally there. So, and the Peacock is starting to do a bunch of new original shows as well. I've seen a few ads here and there, a couple trailers for a few shows. None of them, piqued my interest that much, but I went, interesting.
Well, so as of now, there's a bunch of free content on there. So I downloaded.
Correct.
So, but I think all that stuff I think is premium. So you got to throw $5 at it. And I was like, nah, I got plenty of services at this point.
Yeah. Basically, I'm going to cut cable and just subscribe to the platforms I like. And then after a year, you look and go, I'm paying more money now than I did when I had cable.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. My limit is about four streaming services. Beyond that, it's just, I don't feel like I'm getting value out of it.
Well, like I said, I did the DC one because they were like, you can pay all up front, pay the whole year up front, and it's like end up like $375 a month that way, and we'll give you 3 extra months. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll do that because I wanted to see, like, they had Titans and they had a bunch of stuff that I was like, I want to check that out. And then the second year rolled around, the first like renewal, and it was right around the time Disney Plus came out, and they're like, "Hey, we're dropping our price like $25 for the year, so you still in, please, 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 please." So so I re-upped, and it's still, I like it. It's got some decent content. Doom Patrol is insane. Titans is okay. The Harley Quinn cartoon's really fun. And they've got a billion comic books on there. And I'm like catching up on stuff from the 80s. I read Crisis on Infinite Earths before I watched it, and it's worth it. But I mean, like I said, I don't think it's going to last much longer.
See, that's the thing that kind of prevents me from jumping into comics now, just because it literally would be like being dropped off in the middle of the ocean and going, "It's all here, enjoy," and I would just drown in all. I mean, there's so much.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person that I'll start feeling stressed that, oh God, I got to read that and this and that and this and that. And it's better for me to, like, you know what? I'm just going to say no until there's a really compelling reason for me to jump into it.
Yeah, my buddy sent me my buddy Will sent me a run of, it was Justice League 3001, some like future Justice League. He's like, this is written by the guy who we used to read Justice League in the 90s, and the best thing about it is it got canceled after 12 issues. So here's all of it.
Oh, see, there you go. I think I have a digital copy of the run of She-Hulk from the late 80s.
All right.
And the only reason I have that is because I remember I was at a 7-Eleven when I was either in high school or just out of high school, and I just happened to pick that up, like, She-Hulk, what the hell's that about? And it turns out it's a comedy. It's a comedy comic.
Yeah.
She is riffing and cracking jokes and everything. I read a couple pages of that, and I went, "Oh, that's pretty cool." I didn't buy that issue, but it never left me. I went, I got to read that sometime. And when I had the opportunity to buy the whole run, I went, done.
Yeah. I believe Disney Plus is going to do something with her, like an animated series or something. But like, I think that's in the pipeline as well, because it's a good character.
Cool. That could be cool. Hey, as long as it sticks with that kind of wise ass, kick ass formula.
Yep.
Basically someone who could go toe to toe with Daredevil in comedy and in action.
Yep.
For that, I would go for that. Hulk is Marvel, so yep. and so is Deadpool, right? Yeah. Deadpool's Marvel. Mm-hmm. So they could face off at some point if that turns out to be a thing.
Yeah, they could, like, that would totally be a Fox end of Marvel type character. She's popular, but she's not huge, and to plug her into like the Ryan Reynolds universe, that would be amazing.
Although I think Ryan Reynolds is done with Deadpool movies. I thought he wanted to do ensemble shit. He'll still do Deadpool, but standalone Deadpool movies, I think he's done with them.
I think they said the plan was the next movie was gonna be an X-Force movie, which meant a team up movie with Deadpool and a whole bunch of other characters. So maybe, who knows?
Well, I'm down with it, and of course, no matter, even if he ages out of being able to be Deadpool, he can still do the voice for animation.
Right, and just leave him in the suit.
Exactly. And get Hugh Jackman to do a cameo.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now that's how you retire a character. He retired his Wolverine just fine.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's comic books, so they could always bring him back. They're talking about.
Oh, yeah,
there's rumors that Marvel reacquired the X-Men, or no, they did reacquire the X-Men, but what they're going to do with them remains to be seen. Especially, ever since everything shut down, they're probably just in the planning stages of everything. But like the last was it last year Comic-Con, or it was the Disney D23 or something, where they were like, no, it was last year's Comic-Con, because they had their announcements for, oh, this is the Wanda and Vision TV show, and this is the Doctor Strange movie, and he was like, I don't even have time to talk about X-Men, and I don't even have time to talk about Fantastic Four, and I don't even have time to talk about so it's all in the pipeline. They've got years and years and years of stuff coming.
Oh yeah, and that's the great thing about having such a deep bench of characters. Anybody with a little imagination can pull them out and James Gunn that shit into something that's compelling. Because guess what, Dan? What makes films work?
The writer.
The writing. You can, it's a goddamn tree that says 3 words. And it's as compelling as any other character they've got out there,
If written properly, yes.
If written properly. You got to be able to write it properly. And if not, then, so be it.
Well, like I said, Greg Berlanti, the guy who runs all the TV shows, did the same thing on the first season of Arrow. He's like, give me anybody you can give me, and took some C-list characters and made them pretty cool, and continued to do that and work them in, and to the point of he has in season 2 or 3 of Supergirl, they were like, we need Lex Luthor, and they're like, you can have him for 3 episodes, and they cast John Cryer as Lex Luthor, and he's amazing. He's phenomenal Lex Luthor. He's really, really good.
Oh, he's already got the shaved head.
Yep, and he's doing such a great job. And they like to Easter egg that shit too, because he was Lenny Luthor in Superman 4, and which is not a good performance. He was like Lex's nephew. Yeah,
Lenny Luthor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's right. He was in Superman 4.
Yes.
I had almost forgotten about. I mean, was it the Quest for Peace?
Yep.
I mean, that was such a bad film.
Right, and that's what I mean. Greg Berlanti likes to do that, like, because in on Supergirl, I've said this before. Dean Cain plays her stepfather, and Helen Slater plays her stepmother, which is just brilliant casting, because he was Superman and she was Supergirl at one point.
Yeah,
but he did such a good job on the show that he's been popping up a ton since then. They were like, all right, you can use them. But I mean, again, you have to get the right people to write the character, and you got to get the right actor to play it. You can't just, expect everything to Guardians of the Galaxy itself.
Yeah, that exactly. I mean, it takes a little bit of work.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that's working really nicely, at least based on the first viewing.
Okay.
It's the new show on HBO.
I figured it.
Lovecraft Country.
Yep, I had a feeling you were going to talk about that. I have not delved into that yet.
What?
I have not.
I mean, come on. It's Jordan Peele. It's Lovecraft. It's everything.
Yep. How far into that is it? Is it weekly, or is they drop a whole thing, or what is it?
It is weekly, and the second episode drops Sunday night, which is tonight as we're recording. First episode set things up pretty interestingly.
Okay. I'm
impressed. It definitely has a Jordan Peele joint. You'll know it's a primarily African American cast.
Cool.
And it's dealing with the racism and the violence towards African Americans in the good Lord, when was this? 50s? Crap, I can't remember when the time this takes place in.
Okay.
But it's pretty compelling and very interesting.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'm definitely on board for it, because I mean, come on, it's Lovecraft.
Yeah. Well, I've seen 2 things that are kind of phenomenal recently. What is okay? I've been trying to figure out the way to say this. What is one of the most proselytized and pushed on people and television shows of the last 20 years? What is one? There have been like two. One is your favorite. Two.
Breaking Bad.
That's one of them. And what's the other one? That are people are always like, you the best show I've ever seen.
Wire.
That's it. Now in nerddom, there is a third. There is an animated series that people shove on you all the time.
Last Airbender.
That's the one.
Avatar.
Yep.
Which I have not seen a single episode of.
I finally took the plunge, and it is every bit as everything everyone ever said it was. It is. They did 3 seasons. They did a beginning, a middle, and an end to the story. It's phenomenal. It is so good. It's like everything it needs to be. The characters grow and develop. There's like a lot of spirituality. On the surface, it's like a kung fu kids cartoon, and it's not that at all. Like, it starts there, but it gets pretty heavy, and there's some really sad episodes. And it's one of those things. It's like, people have been bugging me for years, like, you haven't watched Avatar? And finally, I was like, okay, let's just give it a shot. And we got sucked in immediately and blew through it pretty quickly.
Well, unlike another Avatar, I'm actually interested in seeing this eventually.
Yes.
Whereas, I actually rewatched The Abyss the other night because it occurred to me, like, wow, this is the film he did after Aliens. So he was in the zone. I owned a copy of The Abyss because apparently at one point I thought it was good. I watched it again. It's okay. It's fine. It's not phenomenal, but it's decent enough. Yeah. And then I went, dear God, that was in 89, and 6 years later was Titanic. No, 7 years later. What was Titanic? Titanic was 97, wasn't it? 96, yes. 97, something like that. And I looked, he hasn't done anything since Avatar. Nothing. He did a bunch of, he got really into the diving down and underwater filming with the,
he built a bunch of submarines.
Right. Well, he did some special, he invented some special shit, or had it invented, for being able to film The Abyss.
Yep.
And I guess that led him eventually to Titanic. But after that, he kind of wasted the prime years of his movie making career on not doing big films, which is fine. He did some documentaries. Maybe he's working on the technical shit, nothing against him, but he knows how to write. Well, aside from Titanic, he knows how to write dialogue. He knows how to write a script pretty well. He kind of fell off a bit in Titanic. Some of that is very wooden and unfortunate. Yeah. But anyone who says the Aliens script isn't fucking tight and rocking needs to watch it again, because that's pretty much a near perfect film in my opinion.
One of the few like director's cuts that is even better than the theatrical cut.
Yeah, you finally get a little more. Yeah, you get a little more insight into Ripley and her daughter, and kind of what's going on in her head when she comes across Newt.
Yeah, and you get to see how Newt shows up there. Like, what happens to her family? Like, how she's alone in the corridors, in the vents.
Yep. It's a good thing, and don't get me wrong. Hopefully, by the time the second Avatar movie comes out in like 2022. Like more than a decade after the previous one.
Yeah.
I will probably go see it, probably, because it's definitely going to be a visual masterpiece, Yeah. I found the first Avatar very beautiful, very wonderful, but kind of a little empty in story, a little too thin. And of course, my big complaint, the name of the mineral.
Yes.
Yeah. Unobtainium. No. Not a nickname for it. That's what it's actually called.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Have you been hanging out with George Lucas working on names of things? Because, he's not good at that either.
Well, calling the planet Pandora is a little on the nose too.
Well, I mean, in that case, I'm sure that is what um, the humans call it. I'm sure the natives do not call it Pandora. Although I haven't watched the film since the one time I saw it in the theater.
Yep.
Maybe they do call it Pandora. I would hope not, because that would be stupid.
Yes, I don't remember it one bit. I mean, I remember bits and pieces of it, but I'm not enough to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, it's like, coming over to the new world and saying, I declare this to be America. Like, excuse us, we're already here and it has a name, but, once again, white people fucking shit up across the world and the galaxy, apparently.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
what we're good at. Well, speaking of good movies, not that one. I saw I saw a movie that was one of the best movies I've seen in probably 10 years. We finally watched Jojo Rabbit.
I still have not seen it, and I know that I am sleeping on it.
It's on HBO now. It will immediately rocket to the top 10 for you. It is beyond brilliant. It is, first of all, it's hilarious, but it's a brilliant commentary on the Nazis and World War II and how it affects people, how it affected German citizens, but while being like hilarious.
Made by somebody from, I believe, Australia or New Zealand, with an indigenous, ancestry.
Yep.
So that's about as far away from fascist Nazi Germany as you can possibly get, unless you go deep into the heart of the Amazon. And apparently he pulled it out and rocked it. I've heard. Let's put it this way: I have not heard one bad word about that film from anybody. It's ranged from I really liked it to I love it.
You will love it. It is near perfect. And yeah, Taika Waititi directed it and wrote it and plays the imaginary Hitler in it, and it is.
Yes, I did read an article where originally he was not going to play Hitler, and it just kind of worked out that way that he played Hitler, and
but
that's interesting.
He's the perfect guy because he's not playing Hitler. He's playing a 10-year-old boy's imaginary interpretation of Hitler. Right. And it is beyond brilliant. It is it's so funny. I'm surprised you haven't seen it, and I cannot wait to hear your take on it. It took me this long to see it too, but I'm glad I finally watched it.
I've been so busy trying to catch up on TV shows. I'm in the middle of watching I May Destroy You.
Okay, I haven't done that yet.
Which is it's a very important film. It's made by a British woman. She's black, and it's the story of her rape.
Ooh.
But it's done in it doesn't break your heart, but it makes you laugh in places. It's a little weird, and I'm about 4 episodes in, and it's been critically lauded, and a lot of people are talking about it. So I thought I'd give it a shot. I'll come back at some point and give you my final verdict. But the show that I am deep into right now, and it was recommended to me by a friend of mine in California, it's called Norsemen.
I have heard of this,
Norsemen.
I have heard of this, and I desperately want to watch it.
Dude, it's as if the crew of Spinal Tap and Monty Python got together and did this show. And the humor is so dry. I mean, it is just yeah, there's only 18 episodes. I don't know if there'll be a third season. If it's 6 episodes per series, so they're only in 18 episodes so far. I binged the first 6, and I'm going to binge the next 6 tonight.
Nice.
And it's that's my top notch recommendation. Apparently, it's filmed, I want to say, in Norway, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's English. They're speaking English. They're not speaking. God, what do they speak in Norway? I don't know.
that's bad. Yeah. But from what I understand, what I understand, they double film it. They film it in their native language, and then they film it in English too.
That's entirely possible. Kind of like they did with what was it? The one of the first Dracula films. They used the set for one version, and then they hone their crew and cast comes in and does it in another language.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think I heard that because they said the English language version of Norseman was released. I'm like, English language version? Because I looked and like, they're not overdubbing. They're speaking English the whole way.
Yeah,
so,
but they're
just
probably Yep.
They realize the value of it for export. So.
And it worked, evidently.
Yep. Oh yeah, it worked. It's rocketing to my top favorite shows right now.
Cool.
I started watching.
What?
Oh, I was saying I watched a couple episodes of a show called Pen 15, or maybe it's Penis. I don't know. It's from the guys from the Lonely Island.
Oh, okay.
And I watched a couple of those. It's okay. It's not the greatest. But one of the shows that's a big surprise, I may have talked about this before, the Not Too Late Show with Elmo.
It's not that. Yeah, I have not seen that.
That's an HBO Max thing. It's like 12, 13 minutes long, which is about my tolerance for Elmo's voice.
Yeah.
But it's so charming. It's like watching Sesame Street again, but through the lens of me being an adult, and it comes to me in adult terms, but still as a child. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
It walks in both worlds nicely, and because it's so short, you don't feel like you have to invest in a full hour of Elmo, and he has a musical guest, sometimes a third guest. There's Muppets all over the place, and Cookie Monster is the co-host. And let me tell you, it's anytime Elmo talks about something being wild and kooky, you know what happens.
Cookie.
What? Cookie? Cookie. Yes, he's still dangerously addicted to cookies.
That's hilarious.
Even though they did that PSA, cookies are only a sometime thing. Like, Cookie Monster, stop the shit, man. Cookies are an all-time thing for you.
Yeah.
Speaking
of charming little things, one thing we've been watching, our little like at the end of the day to make you feel good. There's a show on Netflix called The Repair Shop, and all it is it's a reality show out of Britain, and it's just this big barn where British people come to have these British craftsmen fix their British things. There's like a clock guy, and there's like teddy bear ladies, and there's like paint restorers, and
then there's bicycle repairman.
Yes, see how he uses a spanner to tighten that nut. But no, it's they bring them in and they restore old British curios and this painting and this clock and stuff, and it's
kind of like the precursor to Antiques Roadshow.
Pretty much, yeah. It's exactly that. but it's it's run by this one guy, and it's just one of those things that's like just like a nice warm hug of a TV show.
The Repair Shop, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm making a note of it because I'll add it to my 900 other shows that I can't watch for ever.
Yeah, but it's nice. You can just throw one on at any time. There's no, you don't have to get sucked into a series. You don't have to binge anything. It's like, I want something to just mellow out to, and that's perfect for what it is.
I dig that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for the tip as we go through all the shows we're watching to keep the pandemic blues at bay.
Yeah, indeed.
All I'm focused on now is voting.
Yes, please.
That's about it. I've already requested my absentee ballot, and if I can put it in the mail 3 weeks before the election, I will. And if I don't get it back in time for me to do that, then I will drop box it. And if I can't do that, I will put myself in a fucking bubble, and I will go and I will vote in person, because I don't care if there's a fucking COVID monster right standing in line with me. I will stand in line with that COVID monster just so I can get to that, because I won't die of COVID before I vote. So as long as I get that vote in, I'll be just fine.
Yep.
And speaking of COVID monster, I hear that that's going to be one of the new villains on one of the Infinite Earths. The one that's run by Trump. As opposed to the other Infinite Earth that's run by Hillary Clinton, for the last 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the Infinite Earth that I think everyone wants to see. And this is one of the Infinite Earths that's run by...
Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Beni Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard & Fine. We may have forgotten in this episode that you can't see us when we're making rude English hand gestures. Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast is sponsored by Deep Shag Records, and it's a production of Audio Prime. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Listen, watch on YouTube, stream us on Spotify, listen on Soundcloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
LOZ.
Audio Primate.